you can live a life in flow where your deepest heart's desires become reality. At Set to Love, we offer strategies and ideas on how you can stay out of crazy town. See, your human experience is meant to be lived with meaning, purpose, and creativity. You are here to contribute through your essence. We are best friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and above all, find our flow in assisting you to find yours. We come together weekday mornings to bring you ideas to fall deeper in love with your life and the journey that you are on. Take what works and ditch the rest, and always stay set to love. Thank you for being a part of this community. We're all designed to live in flow. So let's go. Good morning, our Set to Love peeps. How's everybody doing? We have an exciting morning. We have a special guest. We want to welcome Roman Roberts. He's a really great guy. He has a podcast of his own that he'll be telling you about. He's a former Army Interrogator. He's a married man. He is really cool. He's been through a lot of challenges in his life. So today, we are going to move through life's challenges with greater success with the help of our friend Roman. But before we start, and Roman, you tell us about yourself, I want to say good morning to my best friend, Eva, and once again, welcome you this morning. So welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning.
I'm so happy to be
Good morning,
here.
Roman.
Thank you. This is awesome.
It's great to have you. Yay! I'm not in my usual setup. I am visiting my sister in Astoria, Oregon, where they filmed Goonies. She just bought her first house. So I'm going to be wallpapering today. So I'm simulcasting from my phone in Astoria, Oregon. So hopefully you can hear me okay today and everything works out.
Yeah. My wife would love you because she is all about interior design. She actually redid our entire kitchen. We bought a house as a fixer-upper, so she redid our entire kitchen, built a wall, built like subway tiles around it, replaced the countertops, redid everything. Yeah, so it's funny because people are like, "Oh, you have all these tools in your garage," and they're like, "Those must be yours." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't fix anything. That's not me."
That's great.
That's totally my sister. She's been buying old furniture and then she like refinishes it, and her wallpaper is going to be like, pow, like super fun. All her rooms have themes and she's all into it. So it's awesome. It's fun to be here with them at this time.
That's awesome.
Well, give your sister a hug for me.
I will, Shelley.
So yes. Roman, this morning, we're so excited. First of all, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe a little about your podcast, and then we'll move into a little bit about moving through life challenges, and you've had a lot of those. So
yeah, I will give you the short version. So I started out in foster care. I grew up in abusive homes. I like to call them less than ideal homes because not every home was bad, not every home was good, right? And so I kind of went through that. And once that kind of ended, I got picked up into a home, again, less than ideal. So as quick as I could, I was trying to get out of there. I actually joined the military to leave kind of that small town home life that I had. Joined the military, became an interrogator, kind of fit perfectly with the fact that I didn't really let people in. I was very emotionally closed off, and I could kind of fit myself to whatever environment I needed to. And deployed multiple times, had the honor to work with special operations and a lot of other amazing people. And, it just took a toll on me though, right? Trauma on top of trauma is never good. So I basically went from foster care traumas to military traumas, and it just kind of piled up. So when I transitioned out, I had a lot of bitterness because I never thought I'd leave the military. I had a lot of just not dealing with myself. I had no identity. The military was my identity. Then I jumped into a relationship with my wife. She was my fiance at the time. That was on my last deployment. Did that for 2 years straight, never came home. So that's tension in the relationship. And basically we started off good, had that honeymoon phase. And then my issues started to surface, and it got me to a place where we almost divorced. I had an affair and we almost lost our relationship. I actually almost committed suicide. It was a really dark period, but it got me serious about going to therapy, getting help. I actually, started journaling, reconnecting with God, all kinds of different things. And it put me on this path to healing and identity. One of the things I found out about that was that healing came from having real conversations. It came from real talk. And so that drove me to start a podcast called Real Talk with Roman, where I sit down with people every week. And it's a little bit therapy for me, but also a little bit getting information on how to help people in business and life and veteran transition and relationships and writing a book and whatever it is, right? Because we've all got these things we want to do. And that's kind of what I hope I can and bring to people in short 10-minute bites, because we all got 10 minutes to better ourselves, or we should all try to make 10 minutes to better ourselves.
Yeah, one of the things you said to me was you want to just bring value to the world. And that's a beautiful thing. First of all, I'm so sorry that you went through all the things that you had to go through. I want to give you a big hug, because I think when you go through all that trauma, you probably didn't have a lot of that. So I'm sending you a hug.
Thank you. I'm receiving that. I'm actually working on receiving things better.
Yeah, I feel bad. I just see you as a kid or a young man really needing love. And I just wish there was somebody there. But you know what? You've moved past that, and you're just looking at life in a positive way and giving back. And that's just a beautiful thing. And you're going to be able to help a lot of people, because there's a lot of people that have also been through trauma like that. So I really do. I think that's fantastic. And one of my questions for you, though, is how did you get past the bitterness and kind of out of your own way to even be able to love your wife, love yourself, and to give back? Like, what was that aha moment? Was kind of like what we call our flow moment. How did you figure that out?
That flow moment was, not to get too graphic, but that flow moment was a Glock in my mouth. I mean, I had a gun in my mouth and I was going to end it all. Right. And then I realized I didn't want to do that. And my wife, she loved me through the best times and the worst times. I mean, she saw the person in me that I didn't even think existed. So definitely she was a big part of that. But it really comes down to what you said, right? I had to learn to love myself. I had to learn to love others. But more importantly, I had to learn to let other people love me, right? That's that's the big piece of it, because it's easy to love yourself, right? Like anybody, at a certain point, you can start kind of loving yourself and get selfish and kind of things like that. It's kind of easy to let people love you once you kind of deal with your traumas and get to that. You can let people in and start kind of pulling down some of those walls, and it's gradual. But the hardest part is letting other people love you, like truly love you, give to you, see you when you're vulnerable, because that's what love is, right? It's vulnerability. It's letting someone see you at your best and your worst. It's saying, I hate this and I want to be better at this. And that person being, I'm right there with you to help you. And, I'm not perfect at it, right? Like I'm saying all of this and it's still something I work on. My wife and I, the other day, we were having a conversation. She was like, you talk about being real and having real conversations, and you don't want to talk about this right now. And so it's a journey. It's a journey every single day for people who think I healed from my trauma and I'm done. It's over with. Bullshit. It never ends. It's always there. You're always going to have to deal with it. It just gets easier to deal with, and you get more in tune with yourself, and you get more in tune with the people who love you. And that helps all of that kind of dissipate. Now, it's never going to fully dissipate because it's a part of you. It's a part of who you are. It's part of who you've become. But it definitely gets a lot easier to navigate. And so, those three things: love yourself, love others, and let others love you. Like that's how it happens.
And I don't believe you ever really fully get to where you want to be, meaning that we don't all have challenges. I mean, I've had challenging days where my husband will too say, you need to call Eva. Like, what is your deal? And I'm like, Bob, I'm not supposed to be perfect. I still have moments where I do need Eva, or I need your support. And so that's the thing that people are loving about you, Roman, is that you're going to be real. You're going to have days where you just feel like this is just a crappy day, and tomorrow's going to look better, but you're going to have your wife and support around you saying, babe, you got this. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're not used to. You're used to being alone and being defensive and protecting yourself. And now that you've knocked down those walls,
Yeah.
Like
And
I
it's
said,
hard, right? Because we want to go back to what we know, what's comfortable, right? Like I was actually talking to my wife about this the other day. When you see people who lose somebody or go through a traumatic instance and all of a sudden they revert back, we call it reverting back. They go back to this old person, right? Whether it's they drink a lot or they womanize or whatever, right? They're not reverting back because they're an inherently bad person. They're reverting back to the last known, right? They're going to the last common safe space for them. And that space may not be something you approve of, but that's safe for them, right? Or what they feel was safe. Now, there's the psychological pieces and all that stuff, right? But point being is that happens. People are going to revert back and people are going to have bad days. I have days where I get a little bitter. I have days where I get a little closed off. I have days where I want to lone wolf it, right? Like, because that's just what I'm used to. But you constantly have to push yourself out of that and go, hey, I can't do that. Hey, that's not who I am now. Yeah, that's who I was. And yeah, that feels comfortable. Yeah, that feels so good. It's like, I don't drink near as much as I used to. I used to drink a lot. But, when you put a drink to your mouth, like that taste, that drink, ooh, it hits, right? Like it feels good. But, that's a masking agent that covers other things so you don't have to deal. And I think there's a lot of other things besides alcohol. We tend to go to alcohol and drugs and use those as the thing that we push at to people. But also, going off into your room and just watching TV and not letting people talk to you, right? Like not answering texts from friends, saying you don't need people, pushing people away. Those are all also very toxic behaviors that come from that mentality of that lone wolf. And so, yeah, it's an everyday thing and it's constantly growing. And then I had a kid and it got even harder, right? like there's a whole nother dynamic, but it's a beautiful journey and I love it. I love the days where I fail because I get to get up and I get to be stronger the next day. And so, you can't build muscle without breaking it down a little bit. So I try to embrace the good and the bad.
Roman, that's so beautiful. Like you're so knowledgeable. Thank goodness you have a podcast and that you're sharing.
It's because I'm knowledgeable because I used to be really, really bad at this and I'm just okay at it now.
Hey, you know what? But your okay is like senior year to someone else's freshman year. So you have something to offer. So my question for you is around forgiveness. How has that played a role in your recovery and just your day to day?
This is a hard one. Ooh, you guys are good. You have some good questions. No, so forgiveness is a hard one. And it's one that I, struggled with because no matter who you are, you want to be loved, right? Like, I don't care. All these people who are like, I don't want love. I don't need love. Everyone needs love, right? It's an innate part of humanity. Now, on what that level of love is totally different. But for me, yeah, forgiveness was a hard one, and again, you have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive other people. But I think for me, one of the big things was realizing that forgiveness doesn't mean that things go back to the way they were, right? Like forgiveness for my wife, her and I, like, let's just start with the affair. We fixed our relationship, but she's still going to have triggers. I'm still going to have triggers. And while we've forgiven each other, we have to realize that we've gone through something that puts us in a different space, right? And that's not bad per se. It's just that is what it is. And we have to kind of accept that and realize that part of forgiveness is understanding that in the act of forgiving, we've created this new normal, quote unquote. I think for me, the hardest part of forgiveness, though, was forgiving, abusive homes and forgiving, parental figures, my biological mother, right? Like all these things, those were very hard to forgive because my response was, I don't need them. And I just pushed them out. So I never dealt with it. So having to deal with that was kind of hard, but I found religion kind of really helped me with that forgiveness piece because, and then having a kid like puts religion in a whole nother perspective, right? Because it's, when you don't have a kid, you hear like God gave his son and it sounds like deep and profound. And then you have a son and I'm like, yo, nothing is going to touch my kid. I will literally like
die.
I will be on my dying breath and still be trying to protect him. Right. Like that level. So for God to willingly give up his son, like when you look at it like that, I'm like, yo, I don't have that kind of power. Like, I don't have that kind of strength. Like, I put myself in that position right now and I'm like, I couldn't do it. Like, that's not me. So to understand that he did that for forgiveness, it makes it a lot easier for me to look at somebody who did something to me and go, yeah, I can forgive you, because the sacrifice that it took for me to be able to do that is bigger than I could ever do. So I have to acknowledge that.
Well, that's beautiful. My other question that I think is really important before we have to wrap up today, and I think it's a very serious thing. Suicide is a really big problem, and it's so sad, and people feel like there's no other choices but to just end it, and that's so permanent. So that's just really sad. Roman, is there anything you could tell people? You've been in that spot. What would you tell somebody that has that gun in their mouth or whatever? I mean, I know that's graphic, but it's real. No. It's happening. And all that pain that they're trying to get rid of. What could you tell our people?
Yeah, pain is energy. Pain is matter, right? Like you're not going to get rid of it. It's going to change form. And so change form, right? So think about that. When you put that gun in your mouth and you pull the trigger, now you've just put the pain in a different form. The pain is in your family's form. The pain is in your friend's form. Like, you got rid of the pain. You don't have it anymore, but it's matter. It's energy. Someone else had to take that pain on, right? And so I think the real truth of the matter is when you understand, like, this is pain and I'm feeling it. So instead of making someone else have to deal with it, instead of having someone else feel the pain that I'm feeling, instead of putting someone else in the position that I'm in, I'm going to deal with this pain and I'm going to beat this pain and I'm going to break it down and I'm going to will it into submission in my body, right? Like, because it's not ever going to leave you, right? Like, it's never going to change that I was an abused foster kid. It's never going to change that I watched friends die on deployment. It's never going to change that I cheated on my wife. And it's never going to change that I put a gun in my mouth. But every day I'm going to take the hammer of life to that thing and I'm going to beat it and I'm going to form it. And I'm going to use it for my good, right? Like, I'm not going to have it break me down. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to build up other people with it, right? So when you understand fundamentally that whatever you're feeling, whatever pain, whatever sadness, it doesn't go away by pulling the trigger. You just gave it to someone else. Like, then you can finally understand, wow, that is a little selfish. Wow, I don't want, like, the human in you says, I don't want to put people through that pain, right? Because you're trying to end the pain for yourself. So why would you want to give it to someone else, right? Exactly. So when you think about it like that, I think that's what I would tell people, is realize that pain is just energy and it changes forms, and you gotta deal with the underlying energy, and that way it doesn't hurt you and it doesn't hurt other people, because you're just changing, you're just hurting people, and that's what hurts me the most. And one of the things I still deal with about what I did is, had I done that, I would A, never have a son now, and B, my wife would have, like, even with everything we were going through, she still loved me, right? And so she would have had to deal with that. I had a sister who I met years later after I dealt with my trauma. My sister would never know whether I lived or died. Like, she would have no clue who I am, what happened to me, my story, nothing. And so, and I have 4 nephews that she has 4 boys. So I'd never know them. I'd never get to be an uncle in their life. And so when you think about the unknown repercussions of what you do, hopefully that's enough to make you take the gun out of your mouth.
Wow. Well, wow. I hope people really take that great advice. That was just, I mean, seriously, the fact that you can look at that, so good. Right? Just so good. Now, Roman, we don't have enough time to hear all these wonderful things you could help people. Can you tell us where we can find you, or others can find you that can relate with your story and your podcast and all of that?
Yeah. So you can find me, Real Talk with Roman, on Instagram, Facebook, Real Talk with Rome on Twitter, and LinkedIn, Roman Roberts, right? You can search the hashtag Real Talk with Roman, find me anywhere. Whatever you're going through, I want to be a part of that conversation, help. I love having conversations, so I'm never going to shy away from it. The hard topics are the fun topics, because once you deal with it, then you get to go help other people with it, and that's profound in its own way. So all about those tough topics. I host a podcast every week. Episodes air on Wednesday. 10 minutes, that's all it takes, right? So not going to take a lot of your day, because I know you got things to do. So give me 10 minutes and I'll make your life better. I promise.
Oh, well, we love you dearly. Right, Eva?
Yes. Thank you so much. That was so good. You're beautiful, beautiful human. Thank you for being here and for sharing.
I appreciate it. This was probably such a deep, I love it. I'm receiving all the air hugs. This was such a deep conversation. You guys spit some fire questions.
All right, Eva, be well with your sister. I love you. We're going to have to close out. Oh, hi.
Hi.
We're going to close out for the
This is
day.
phone.
Yay. Thank you
Roman.
Thank you so much, Roman.
Thank you both so
guys,
much.
you can find us here weekday mornings on settolove.com. If you'd like to email us, we're at settolove@gmail.com. Is it net? I'm not, it's at gmail.com. Yes, weekday morning.
Set to Love podcast.
Okay, let me say that again. Set to Love podcast@gmail.com. We're here weekday mornings, 8:30 a.m. We love to hear what you have to say. So please email us, ask us questions. Roman, you were amazing. So you guys ring the bell. Go see Roman if he can make a big difference in your life. Love you guys.